Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be a video covering Vaxee's new E1. This is their new ergonomic mouse. It feels exceptionally good in the hand, and I think it's going to feel very close to a lot of people in comparison to the Vaxee Outset. I do think that there are enough changes here to make this feel like its own unique mouse in the hand in comparison to the Outset, and I think the shape changes, the nips and tucks, it's going to feel a little bit better for a wider audience. The color here, though, is absolutely magnificent. We have to bring that up first. Taking this out of the box and seeing this offset blue, it's kind of like a royal blue or a cobalt blue, just looks absolutely fantastic. I think it's one of the best colorways out of the box I've seen to date, and honestly, it's going to be hard to take off my desk just because of that color. It's so rich, it's so powerful and potent on that mouse pad that it just is really stunning. Everything on the mouse is controllable from the bottom buttons in and of themselves. You don't have to have any software. It's got 4,000 polling rate. You can change the liftoff distance and DPI, etc. You can see I did take the skates off. I do have the mouse open right now. I'll show you guys the internals. But without skates, this mouse comes in at 59 grams. With the default skates, my mouse did come in at 61 grams. In comparison to the new Logitech DEX, it's going to feel like a smaller mouse, and I think it's going to be, again, better for a wider audience. The DEX, to me, feels more like a medium to large mouse, more for somebody looking for, I would say, closer to large than medium. And it's something to me that kind of fills your hand more. It feels more like a glove. It's going to be more of that leisurely mouse where you want more palm contact. The E1 just feels really good. It feels more maneuverable. It feels more agile. And it feels like the nips and tucks from the original Outset are going to make this mouse feel more like it is engaging more of your fingertips, and it's a little bit more aggressive in its overall feel with more inner hand maneuverability with your fingertips in comparison to the Outset. Now, what are the changes from the Outset? And again, I think it really is going to be like the new Outset moving into the future. I could be wrong about that, but I know they terminated their collab with Outset in, I think, early May of this year. So I don't know if this is just going to be like the rebranded Outset, and it's really hard to tell, but to me, it does feel like it has some changes shape-wise from the Outset. And it's really hard to even tell when you just look at the mouse. But some of the changes that are most readily noticeable. Mouse 1 and Mouse 2 are bucketed. So your index finger and your middle finger are going to rest right into Mouse 1 and Mouse 2. It makes it feel like it's just resting in this comfortable bucket. And because of that sloping that starts towards the outside of the button and kind of slopes inward towards the middle and kind of evens out towards the scroll wheel, it just makes it feel like the click height sits a little bit lower than the original Outset. It makes it feel like you're just more locked in and engaged with your hand. It feels really nice. And I think it was maybe a change that even started with the Lethal LA1 with those bucketed Mouse 1 and Mouse 2s, but just feels really good with your fingers being locked in. The Outset, again, it feels like your fingers are resting a little bit higher and they stick out a little bit more flat because they're not as angled. And I do think that the click height rests a little bit lower than the original Vaxee Outset. Now, where do I think the most changes are in overall feel? I do think that the mouse protrusion from that backside, you guys can see the Vaxee Outset kind of protrudes outward in this area a little bit more, and it's a little bit more pointed. And I feel like there's a little bit more meat in this area here in comparison to the E1. So it's almost like a slimmer mouse in that general region. And it seems like the back of the mouse starts a little bit lower and then gradually goes up to the peak. So I think the mouse is going to feel a little bit better and more agile towards the rear of the mouse because you're losing a little bit of that meat. I think as you start curving up to the top of the mouse, I do think they've shedded off a little bit of the meat here in this area as well. It feels like, to me, like I'm resting a little bit lower on the E1 than the Outset. And I think it's, again, a mixture of those two areas that are making me feel like I'm resting a little bit lower. So that in general will make it feel a little bit less bulbous, a little bit less bulby feeling than the Outset, and a little bit basically like an Outset on a trimmed up diet, making it feel more agile in the hand and especially better for fingertip users, and I think better for claw grip users as well. Comparing the original to the E1, you can see the side buttons are separated. The side buttons do have that gloss feel as opposed to a matte. And all of my buttons here feel very good. Mouse 1 and Mouse 2, they're using Juanos. The scroll wheel feels fantastic, especially compared to the original. It has very smooth but very noticeable steps scrolling both up and down. Mouse 3 is very spammable, but it's not loose feeling, but it's not tight feeling, if that is makes sense. It's kind of that happy medium in terms of Mouse 3. The side buttons feel really, really good here. The only thing I noticed is pre-travel, very minimal. Post-travel, almost non-existent. But towards the bottom of Mouse 4, you will, well, at least on my copy, it actually doesn't actuate the button. It does feel as though the plastic is tilting out and upward a little bit towards the front end when I'm pushing on the back end, and I don't get actuation when I'm hitting it at the very, very bottom. Now, the good thing is, in-game, I would never feel that because my thumb is positioned perfectly to hit both buttons literally smack dab in the sweet spot right in the middle of those buttons. I can say the clicks feel a lot. This is the best feeling a Vaxee mouse has been in terms of Mouse 1 and Mouse 2. Very little sway feel on Mouse 1, very little sway feel on Mouse 2. No flexing, no creaking of the plastic. The clicks feel very crispy, very fast, very tactile. And you can hear them just sound really, really good. I'll show you guys the inside of the mouse, and I think the click structure is a little bit different. Again, I don't have a wireless outset on me right now, but look at this cage structure at the forefront of the mouse and how minimal the bottom side of the mouse is. You'll see a lot of those weight savings with respect to these changes. But that cage structure, I think, is what's adding just so much build integrity on the click design here itself. Everything feeling really, really good, and I'll get you guys a close-up of the internal cage. And you guys can probably get a good sense that the weight of the cage and the PCB is being offset by the weight of the battery. So I'm going to put a lot of more time into the Vaxee E1. I just wanted to put my thoughts out there, how it compares to the Outset, at least right now, from what I'm noticing with feel. I'm going to put more time into it compared to the DEX, but really easily something right now that could be a top contender for anybody's top ergo mouse on the market. Definitely always a really nice job from Vaxee, and this is, I think, one of their best jobs to date in terms of the click design and click feel. Very nice mouse, perfect weight balance here that does not feel too condensed in any area of the mouse. Everything feeling quite good here in terms of its general feel, even without skates. So again, guys, I'll get some more game time on this, give you guys my final impressions with what I will be choosing as my main ergo mouse moving into the future, but definitely some contenders here on the table in and of themselves, the E1 and the Logitech G Pro Superlight 2 DEX. I hope it helped, guys. If it did, please leave a sub to the channel. See you guys in the next review. Peace.